Today's story is titled, Be My Wife, Just for Now. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let us return to our main character. Rain drifts across the hospital parking lot in thin silver sheets, blurring the edge of the world like a fading watercolor. Lena Ward pulls her scrub jacket tighter, but the September wind cuts straight through it. Her shift ended an hour ago, yet she has not moved from beneath the flickering street lamp. The weight on her chest is heavier than her tote bag. Overdue rent, medical bills stacked on the kitchen table, and the quiet fear that her contract job might not renew next month. Every breath feels like it scrapes her ribs on the way out. Inside the sliding glass doors, the hospital glows warm and gold, a world that belongs to people with certainty, people who know where they will sleep tonight. Lena is not one of them. The soles of her shoes are thinning, and the last $100 in her account will not stretch far. She takes a slow breath, steadying herself, convincing her heart she can walk away, go home, try again tomorrow. Then she hears footsteps, the kind that do not rush or hesitate, the kind that belong to someone who is used to people stepping aside. She turns and freezes. Dr. Adrian Hale stands beneath the awning, the rain sweeping around him like he commands even the weather to give him space. His white coat is gone, replaced by a charcoal suit that fits him like it was sculpted for his frame. His presence is quiet but sharpened at the edges, the kind of quiet that makes people instinctively straighten their posture. Lena, he says softly, but his voice carries over the rain. Do you have a moment? Her throat tightens. She has spoken to him before briefly, always professionally, but never like this. Doctor. Hale is the hospital's most brilliant surgeon, the man other doctors quote, the man donors shake hands with, the man administrators try to impress. She is a temporary nurse, easily replaced, always on the edge of being overlooked. Yes, doctor, she manages. For a heartbeat, he only watches her. His expression is unreadable, not cold, but weighed down by something she cannot name. Rain beads across his hair and shoulders, but he does not seem to notice. I need to ask you something, he says. Something unusual. Her pulse jumps. Unusual from him could mean anything. A shift change, a special assignment, a reprimand, a favor. He steps closer, lowering his voice. Would you walk with me for a moment? Lena hesitates, then nods. They move beneath the sheltered walkway, their footsteps echoing lightly. The hospital hum fades into the background. All she can hear is the pounding in her ears. Adrian stops at the far end, hands in his pockets as if he is bracing himself. I am going to say this in the simplest way possible, he begins, because if I think too much, I may not say it at all. Lena swallows. Okay. He turns toward her fully, rain misting behind him like a veil. His eyes meet hers steady, unwavering, urgent. I need someone I can trust, he says, just for a short period of time. Someone who is not tied to my world. Someone who has nothing to gain by manipulating me. He pauses. And that someone is you. Her breath catches. Dr. Hale, what are you asking? Adrian inhales once, slow and deliberate, as if crossing an invisible line. Be my wife, he murmurs. Just for now. The world tilts. Lena blinks at him, convinced she misheard, but his expression does not waver. Before she can form a word, he adds quietly, I know how it sounds, but I would not ask if it were not necessary. Her heart hammers. The street lamp buzzes faintly. The rain whispers against the pavement. She stares at him, stunned, speechless, trying to understand the impossible sentence still hanging between them. Wife? Why her? Why now? Adrian watches her reaction closely, too closely, as though the answer she is about to give might alter the course of something far larger than either of them realizes. And in that suspended breath between them, Lena's life begins to shift, inch by inch, toward a future she has never imagined. Lena does not answer. She simply stares at him, the rain behind him blurring into a soft grey curtain. Adrian waits with the stillness of a man who has rehearsed this moment 100 times and still hates every second of it. Dr. Hale, I do not understand, she finally whispers. You will, he replies quietly. If you will let me explain. They walk beneath the covered path toward the parking garage. The air is cool and carries the faint scent of disinfectant drifting from the emergency wing doors. Lena follows a half-step behind him, her pulse thudding in her ears. Every instinct tells her that her life is shifting inch by inch, whether she wants it to or not. Adrian presses the elevator button, but instead of going down to the garage, he leads her up toward the administrative floor where the lights never fully turn off. When the doors open, the hallway is empty, polished, silent in a way that feels unnatural inside a hospital. Lena hesitates at the threshold. "It is all right," Adrian says. "Come with me." He unlocks a glass conference room. The interior glows with warm, recessed lighting, casting long reflections across the sleek table. She has cleaned rooms like this during short staffing nights, always hurrying, always careful not to touch anything. Now she stands in the center of it, drenched from the rain, feeling wildly out of place. Adrian removes his wet suit jacket, drapes it over a chair, and rests both hands on the table as if steadying himself. "I need a temporary spouse," he says. "Not for romance, for legal protection." Her breath shakes. Legal? Protection from what? There is a long pause. Adrian looks up, and for the first time she sees something flicker in his expression. Fatigue, maybe, or pressure so heavy it has carved itself into him. "There is a board review coming," he says. "A very political one. There are individuals who want control of my department, my research funding, and possibly the estate my father left. They are pushing a narrative that I am unstable, unpredictable, unfit for leadership." Lena frowns. "You save lives every day." "Oh, that does not matter to them," he replies. "They need leverage. They need to weaken me. They have already tried." The room feels colder. Lena grips the back of a chair. "So you want a stable public image? A wife?" Her voice is small but steady. "Yes," he says. "A grounded partner. Someone who cannot be connected to my political rivals. Someone who does not belong to their world. Someone they cannot buy." Lena feels her stomach sink. "But why me?" Adrian's jaw flexes, as if he considers lying, but decides against it. "Because you are honest," he says. "Because you do not chase influence. Because every time I have observed you, you have acted from integrity rather than ambition. That makes you the safest person I know." The words hit her harder than she expects. She looks at her worn shoes, her damp scrubs, the loose hair escaping her ponytail. Safe person. She has never been called that by anyone with power. He opens a slim portfolio and slides a document toward her. She does not touch it. Her eyes scan the bold header. "Temporary Civil Union Agreement Confidential." Her chest tightens. "Read it later," Adrian says. "There are conditions but nothing inappropriate. No physical expectations. No intrusion into your private life. You simply attend several public events and appear as my spouse. In return, I will ensure your financial stability for the duration of the arrangement." And Lena feels the edges of the room waver, as if her world has been tipped slightly off balance. He watches her carefully. "Lena, you do not have to decide tonight, but time is not on my side. The first review hearing is in 12 days. 12 days. The number thuds in her mind like a heavy door closing. She exhales slowly, shaking, overwhelmed, unable to sort the fear from the strange, impossible sense that someone like him sees something valuable in someone like her. Her fingers hover above the contract, not touching it yet, as if it might burn. And in the quiet of that polished room, something begins that neither of them fully understands. The conference room hums with the faint buzz of the overhead lights. Lena stands motionless, her hand still hovering above the contract. Adrian does not push her. He simply watches, the tension in his shoulders revealing more than his composed voice ever could. "Let me walk you out," he says gently. She nods. Together they move through the quiet administrative floor, their footsteps echoing across polished tile. It is late enough that most of the hospital has fallen into its softer night rhythm, but the air still carries the sharp scent of antiseptic and the distant murmur of machines. Lena clutches her tote bag, trying to keep her breathing steady. The idea of becoming his wife, even temporarily, feels unreal, like a story from another world. Outside, the rain has eased into a fine mist. Adrian stops beneath the covered walkway. "You should rest," he says. "This is a heavy decision." Lena meets his gaze. "Why did you not ask someone from your own circle? A colleague? A friend? His eyes darken just slightly. Because my circle is full of ambition. Every person in it gives the appearance of loyalty, but very few have integrity. He holds her gaze for a moment longer. And I cannot risk aligning myself with someone who might turn this into their own advantage. Hell, the honesty unsettles her. It is too raw for a man so controlled. I will think about it, she says quietly. I know you will. He gives a small, weary nod before walking toward his car, disappearing into the rain-softened dark. Lena stands alone, gripping her tote until her knuckles ache. The night feels colder than before. She begins her walk to the bus stop, the contract now a heavy weight inside her bag. Each step echoes the same thought. This is not her world. She is a nurse with overdue bills and a shrinking paycheck. She should not be anywhere near the kind of political storm Adrian described. But the truth sits heavy in her chest. If she does nothing, she will lose her apartment, her mother's medication, her fragile sense of stability. A gust of wind rattles the bus shelter as she arrives. She sinks onto the cold bench, the street lamp above her flickering. She pulls the contract from her bag and rests it on her knees. The pages look pristine, untouched, yet they radiate a quiet threat, the same kind of pressure woven throughout Adrian's voice. She reads the first few lines. Her breath stumbles. Clear, formal, legally binding, temporary spouse, confidential arrangements, public appearances, a compensation amount that makes her throat tighten. This is real. A bus groans to a stop in front of her, its doors sighing open. She climbs aboard and takes a seat near the back, the contract held carefully in her lap. The bus rattles through the dim streets of the city, neon reflections sliding across the windows like streaks of paint. Lena thinks of Adrian's expression in the conference room, steady but shadowed, like a man balancing on the edge of something dangerous. He had chosen her because she could not be bought, because she was honest, but honesty has never paid her rent. As the bus turns toward her neighborhood, another thought slips in, quiet but undeniable. If she does this, her life will no longer belong entirely to her. And yet, something in her refuses to close the door completely. She holds the contract a little tighter, the city light smearing across the page, and realizes she is already considering the impossible. Lena sleeps poorly. The contract lies on her kitchen table through the night like a silent witness, its neat pages reflecting the pale glow of the refrigerator bulb every time she reaches for water. She reads the terms again and again, but the words only twist tighter inside her chest. By morning, a decision has formed, not clean, not confident, but shaped by necessity. She dresses for work with trembling hands, folds the contract into a plain envelope, and heads toward the bus stop long before sunrise. The hospital lobby is quiet at that hour, washed in amber light. She finds Adrian in his office, standing near the window with his sleeves rolled and his tie loosened, as if he has not slept either. He turns the moment she knocks. "You came early," he says. "I made my decision," she replies, her voice unsteady but determined. She sets the envelope on his desk. "I will sign." For a long moment he does not move. Relief flickers through his expression, controlled but unmistakable. He nods once. "Thank you, Lena. I will not forget this." He signs his portion with precise strokes, his posture straightening as if a weight has shifted on his shoulders. When she finishes her signature, the pen feels strangely heavy in her hand. "It begins today," he says quietly. "There is a charity banquet tonight. It will be our first public appearance." Her breath catches. "Tonight?" "I am afraid so. It is unavoidable." He hands her a slim black card with an address embossed in silver. The event is set in a venue far too elegant for her imagination. Her stomach tightens. "I will have a car pick you up at 6, he adds. "Everything you need will be provided." She nods, unable to find words. The moment she steps out of his office, the fluorescent lights feel colder, as if the building itself senses she has crossed a line she cannot retreat from. Time moves strangely for the rest of the day. Her shift drags and races at the same time, every task blurred by the growing knot in her stomach. By late afternoon, she hurries home, showers, and waits with her hands clasped tightly in her lap. At exactly 6, a black sedan glides to a stop outside her apartment building. The driver opens the rear door without speaking, and Lena climbs in. The seats are soft leather, the interior scented with faint cedar. She keeps her hands folded, afraid to touch anything. The car escorts her to a private boutique tucked behind a row of high-end storefronts. Inside, warm lights glow over displays of evening gowns and delicate jewelry. A stylist greets her by name. Dr. Hale requested a simple, elegant look. The stylist says gently, "Nothing extravagant. He wanted you to feel comfortable." The kindness in the words does not lessen the weight pressing against Lena's ribs. She steps into the fitting room, the air thick with the quiet hum of luxury she is not accustomed to. The stylist helps her into a deep navy gown that fits her perfectly, as if tailored to her silhouette. When Lena steps toward the mirror, she barely recognizes herself. The gown, the soft waves of her hair, the understated jewelry, it all feels like a costume borrowed from another woman's life. The stylist studies her reflection. "You look like someone who belongs." Lena does not answer. She only stares at the woman in the mirror, because tonight, the entire city will see her as the wife of a billionaire doctor, and the door behind her own life will begin to close. The sedan carries Lena from the boutique to the banquet hall, sweeping through a gated drive lined with manicured hedges and stone lanterns. Warm golden light spills from towering windows, and the hum of conversation rises like a distant tide. Through the glass, Lena sees silhouettes in evening gowns and tailored suits, people who move as though the world has always made space for them. When the driver opens her door, a rush of cool night air greets her. She steps onto the marble entrance, her hands damp against the small clutch she was given. The gown flows around her ankles with every uncertain step. Inside, the ballroom is vast and bright, the chandeliers scattering light like crushed diamonds across polished floors. The atmosphere is elegant, but the air feels dense, weighted by the kind of money and influence that shapes entire institutions. Lena swallows hard. Then she sees him. Adrian Hale stands near the center of the room, surrounded by board members and donors, his charcoal suit impeccable. His posture is controlled, every movement precise, but Lena notices the tension in his jaw, a strain beneath the polished composure. When his eyes find her, they soften just slightly before he excuses himself from the group. He approaches with steady purpose. "You look beautiful," he says. His voice is low enough that only she hears it. "Thank you for being here." Lena steadies her breath. "Tell me what to do." "You will stay by my side and speak only with those I introduce," he replies. "If at any point you feel uncomfortable, let me know. I will handle it." End quote. His words are calm, but there is something guarded beneath them. He offers his arm. She hesitates for a single heartbeat, then places her hand lightly on his sleeve. The fabric is smooth, cool, unfamiliar. They move together through the room, drawing attention almost instantly. Conversations pause. Eyes trail after them. "Who is she?" Someone whispers. "I heard she is his wife." Quiet type. No records on her anywhere. Strange. Then, the murmurs thread through the air, soft but sharp, like needles hidden in silk. Lena forces her shoulders back, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Adrian leads her to a small circle of executives. A woman with a flawless smile looks Lena up and down with thinly veiled curiosity. "So this is the wife," the woman says. Lena feels heat rise beneath her skin. Adrian's hand shifts slightly, guarding her without touching. "This is Lena Hale," he says firmly, his tone leaving no space for challenge. "I would appreciate respect." The woman's smile falters. Lena senses it, then subtle, cold, almost imperceptible, the opposition Adrian warned her about. People who want him weakened. People who would use her as an opening. A man in a navy suit leans closer than politeness allows. "Interesting choice, Adrian. You always did keep your personal life unexpected." Adrian's expression does not change. "I choose what is right, not what is convenient." The man's eyes flick to Lena, calculating, and in that moment, she understands with absolute clarity. This world does not welcome her. It studies her. It tests her. It waits for her to fail. As the music swells and the lights shimmer across the room, Lena stands a little closer to Adrian, knowing that the night has only just begun, and every step she takes pulls her deeper into a life she never asked for, but has already agreed to live. The music softens into a slower melody as the evening progresses, but the tension does not ease. It thickens, nearly visible, drifting between conversations like smoke. Lena stays close to Adrian, answering polite questions, smiling when expected, but every moment feels like she is balancing on a narrow ledge. A board member gestures Adrian over. "There is someone you need to meet," he says. "A donor with strong opinions about your department." Adrian nods once. "Lena, stay by my side." But before they can move, another woman approaches, poised, confident, dressed in deep emerald satin. She carries herself with the familiarity of someone who has known Adrian for years. Her eyes skim Lena with a practiced, calculating sweep. "Adrian," she says, "you did not tell me you were bringing a wife." Her voice is polite, but the undertone is unmistakable. Adrian's expression remains calm. "Vivian, this is Lena." "Lena," Vivian repeats, tasting the name. "And where exactly did you two meet?" Lena feels the floor tilt slightly beneath her. She opens her mouth, but Adrian answers first. "That is not relevant," he says. "What matters is that she is here." Vivian's smile tightens. "Of course. I simply find it surprising that no one in our usual circles has ever heard of her." The words land like small, deliberate cuts. Lena feels them but does not react. She keeps her posture steady, her hands folded lightly in front of her. Vivian leans in a fraction closer. "Adrian, you always were selective. But this..." She lets the sentence dangle. Before Adrian can respond, someone taps his shoulder. "Dr. Hale, the chairman is looking for you." Adrian turns to Lena. "Come with me." But Vivian steps slightly into their path. "Actually, the chairman requested a private word." Her tone leaves little room for debate. Adrian hesitates just long enough for Lena to feel it, but then nods. "I will be quick." "Enter Lena." He turns to Lena and lowers his voice. "Stay here. Do not engage with anyone who pushes you. I will return shortly." And then he disappears into the crowd. The moment he is gone, the ballroom feels colder. Conversations seem to shift, turning in her direction. Vivian remains for a breath, studying Lena with open curiosity. "You do not belong here," she says softly, though her smile never changes. "I am sure you already feel that." Lena steadies her breathing. "I am not here to impress anyone." Vivian tilts her head. "That is good, because you will not." With that, she walks away. For a few seconds, Lena stands alone, the din of voices rising and falling around her. She tries to blend into the edge of the room, but the glances continue, some curious, some amused, some openly skeptical. She moves toward a quiet corner near a towering floral arrangement, hoping for a moment to gather herself. But a man steps into her path. Tall, impeccably dressed, a glass in his hand. "Lena Hale," he says, drawing out the name. "I have been wanting to meet you." His smile is too smooth, too knowing. "I am Marcus Kent," he adds, extending a hand she does not take. "I work closely with several members of the board. I find it fascinating that Adrian married so suddenly." The way he says, "suddenly," makes the back of her neck tighten. Lena meets his gaze. "It is not my place to discuss his decisions." Marcus chuckles softly. "Of course, but everything about you is interesting, you know. No history in our networks, no background that anyone can verify. You simply appeared." Lena feels something cold settle in her chest. He steps closer, "And people who appear from nowhere," he continues, "often carry something to hide." Before she can answer, the crowd shifts. Adrian is returning, expression sharper than when he left. Marcus smiles lightly and steps back. "Enjoy your evening," he says, then melts into the crowd. Adrian reaches her side, his jaw set. "What did he say to you?" he asks. Lena exhales slowly, the noise of the ballroom throbbing around them. "Nothing I did not already fear," she replies. And Adrian understands immediately. The wolves have scented her, and the night is far from over. Adrian does not ask again. He already knows the answer from the look in Lena's eyes. He gestures for her to follow him away from the crowded center of the ballroom, weaving through clusters of guests whose conversations fall to murmurs as they pass. The further they move from the music, the heavier the air becomes, as if the building itself is holding its breath. They reach a quieter hallway lined with framed photographs of past donors. The carpet muffles their footsteps, and the hum of the party fades into a distant echo. Adrian stops near a small alcove, his posture rigid, his expression shadowed. "Marcus Kent is not someone you should speak to," he says, voice low. "He has been trying to undermine me for years." Lena folds her hands together to keep them steady. "He made that clear." Adrian studies her face. "Did he threaten you?" "Not directly," she says, "but he made it obvious that people here are watching everything I do." Adrian looks away, jaw tightening. "I should not have left you alone." It is all right," she says softly. "I can handle rude questions." "It is not rude questions that concern me," he replies. "It is what they will do with the answers." The words drift between them, cold and heavy. Lena feels a chill run through her. She thinks of Vivian's thin smile, Marcus's calculated interest, the quiet stares from across the ballroom. Each interaction felt like a test. Each question was designed to pull at loose threads. Adrian exhaled slowly. There are people on the board who want control of my department. They want leverage. They want to turn every part of my life into evidence. Lena meets his gaze, including me. Yes, he says quietly, especially you. For a moment, the hallway seems to tilt, just as the estate felt in content Mur 4, TXT gilded, beautiful, and suffocating. Lena understands with a clarity that makes her stomach tighten. She is no longer simply participating in a public arrangement. She has stepped onto a battlefield she did not see coming. A server approaches timidly, offering a tray of sparkling water. Adrian thanks him, waits until the server disappears, then turns back to Lena. I want you to stay close to me for the rest of the evening, he says. If anyone approaches you again in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you tell me immediately. Lena nods, but her voice catches. Adrian, am I putting you in danger? His answer comes quicker than she expects. No, they were already coming for me. You are simply the first thing they believe they can reach. The honesty stings more than anything, Marcus said. Before she can respond, footsteps echo from the other end of the hallway. A pair of board members approach, their faces strained with discreet urgency. Dr. Hale, one of them says, there is an issue with the chairman. He is requesting your presence. It is important. Adrian's jaw tightens again. Of course. He looks at Lena. Stay here. This will not take long. But the board member shakes his head. The chairman asked for privacy. Adrian hesitates. A hesitation filled with warning. Then he turns to Lena. I will return as soon as I can. He leaves with the board members, disappearing around the corner. Lena remains alone in the alcove, the muffled voices of the party drifting faintly through the walls. The shadows feel longer than before, the silence heavier. She takes a slow breath, but it does little to steady her. Every instinct tells her that something in this building is shifting, quietly and deliberately, and for the first time since signing the contract, she feels the full truth settle over her. She is not just part of Adrian's image. She is now part of the danger surrounding him. Lena remains in the alcove after Adrian disappears with the board members. The hallway feels different now, hollow, stretched thin. Patterns in the carpet blur under the dim lights, and the portraits of smiling donors seem to watch her with quiet judgment. She tries to steady her breath, but the silence presses down harder with each passing second. A soft click echoes somewhere down the corridor. Then another, not loud, but enough to raise the fine hairs along her arms. She steps closer to the wall, unsure if she should stay or return to the ballroom. Adrian told her to wait here, but he did not know the atmosphere would shift like this. She takes a cautious step into the hallway, listening. The faint click comes again. She follows the sound carefully. It leads her toward a side corridor that branches off near a service door. The light is dimmer there, the carpet giving way to polished stone. A small brass plaque reads, Private Storage Authorized Personnel. She should not approach it, but curiosity pulls at her. A quiet, insistent tension, the same kind that shaped every turn of content Mur 4, text where the deeper someone walked into a world of power, the more secrets waited in the shadows. She edges closer. The door is slightly ajar. Lena hesitates, heart pounding. She nudges the door open a fraction. Inside is a narrow storage room lined with shelves, stacked with event supplies, folded linens, extra place settings, unopened boxes of decor. But it is not the supplies that catch her attention. It is the voices. Two men speak in hushed tones behind one of the shelving units. She showed up tonight, one man says. His voice is sharp, impatient. Just when we needed him distracted. Do not worry, the other replies. The chairman already has Adrian tied up in a private room. He will not be leaving soon. Lena's breath stumbles. They continue. This marriage is a weak spot, the first man says. It came out of nowhere. No one knew about it, which means it is a lie, and lies are leverage. The second man chuckles softly. If we expose it, we can force the board to question his stability. That buys us time until the vote. A pause. And the woman? The other asks. She will break, the first man says. They always do. One wrong question, one wrong moment, and the truth slips. Lena steps back, pulse hammering wildly. She turns to leave, but her elbow catches a glass vase sitting on a lower shelf. It wobbles. She reaches for it, but the vase slides off the edge and shatters on the floor with a sharp, explosive crack. The voices stop instantly. What was that? Someone is here. Lena's heart surges to her throat. She bolts from the room, the sound of footsteps slamming against the floor behind her. She rushes down the corridor, desperate to find the main hallway. Her heels slip slightly against the polished stone, but she does not dare slow down. "Stop!" one of the men shouts. "Hey, stop!" N. She turns a corner sharply and nearly collides with Adrian. He grabs her arms instinctively, steadying her. "Lena, what happened?" "They were in a storage room," she gasps. "They were talking about you, about exposing the marriage, about using me to hurt you. They said the chairman was keeping you in a room and..." The footsteps round the corner. But the moment the two men see Adrian's controlled, cold expression, they halt mid-stride. "Dr. Hale," one of them says stiffly. "And they will try," he replies, "but they will not succeed." He glances toward the empty hallway, tension hardening his expression. "We are leaving," he says, "right now." For the first time, Lena realizes she is no longer just part of a contract. She is part of a war, and the night has shifted into something far more dangerous than anything she imagined. They needed something they could twist into scandal. Tonight, they believed they found it. Lena folds her hands in her lap. "They believe I am the weakness." Adrian shakes his head. They are wrong. The car slows as they approach his residence, an elegant, modern home perched on a quiet street. Inside, the lights are soft, almost calming after the harsh brightness of the banquet hall. But the tension between them remains sharp. Adrian leads her into his study, a room lined with shelves of medical texts and awards. He closes the door gently. "I owe you the truth," he says. Lena steadies herself. "About what?" "About why I needed a spouse so quickly." She nods for him to continue. Adrian walks to the desk and retrieves a thick folder. He hands it to her. Inside are documents, letters, board reports, legal drafts, details of a planned motion to remove him from leadership under the guise of ethical instability. "But you put me in danger." "Yes," he says quietly, "and that is something I regret." For the first time since she stepped into his world, Adrian looks vulnerable. The confident man in the banquet hall is still there, but the weight on his shoulders is clearer now, etched in the stillness of his expression. "Lena," he says, "if you wish to walk away, you can. I will keep my word. You will not face consequences. You will not owe me anything." The room grows silent. Lena looks down at her hands, still trembling, but steadying little by little. She thinks of the whispers, the shadows, the men in the storage room. She thinks of his honesty, the way he listened, the way he protected her, the moment he saw danger closing in. Then she raises her eyes. "I will not walk away," she says. "Not after tonight." Adrian's breath stills. "You chose me because I am honest," she continues, "because I do not belong in their world. Maybe that is exactly why I need to stay." Adrian steps closer, not touching her, but close enough that she can feel the shift in the room. "This contract began as protection," he says, "but I do not want it to remain a contract." Lena's heart stumbles. He reaches into the top drawer of his desk and sets a small silver key in her palm. It is warm from his hand. "This house does not need an agreement," he says softly. "It needs someone who will stay for the truth, not the appearance. Something honest, something that could finally become real."